A lot of the wins that we got came from my technicians that were on the ground out there. They had those relationships and they could go to our guys and have a problem. They'd fix it, or they'd call me and we'd get it fixed. And working as a team like that really made a huge difference.
I'm Tyler Simmons. Welcome to In the Yard, a Western States podcast. From employees with decades of experience to customers working hard in the field. Join me for conversations with some of our industry's best and brightest to hear their stories in the heavy equipment world. Episodes will drop bi-weekly, so see you in the yard. Thank you, Stephen, for taking the time to join us today to jump on. I'm excited to learn about you, kind of learn what you've been doing here at Western States and your history. So give me a quick introduction and tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, Stephen Roberts, I've been with the company 17 and a half years now. Started August 6, 2007. Don't know why I know that, but I know every year it comes around. So, 3 of my 4 kids have been born under Western States' insurance policy, so that's been nice.
There you go.
And my oldest is getting ready to graduate, and I've had, I'm going to say 4 or 5 different jobs since I've been here. So,
Oh, wow. So August 6th. So I started August 1st, 2006.
okay,
So we're like so close. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. We're so close, just 1 year off.
1 year off.
Dude, that's crazy.
Mhm.
It's crazy. So you've been here quite a while. Nice. So what was your first role here at Western States?
So I started out in the parts warehouse. I was going to college at BYU, Idaho, and my wife hadn't finished yet, and so I was looking for a job, and she said, hey, look at this. I applied, got the job, and it was going to be temporary until she graduated, and she has not graduated yet.
So you're still working under the temporary status.
That's right,
then,
right.
apparently.
If she ever gets her degree, we're moving on. So
Whole different life.
that's right,
happening.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
That's
So
funny.
yes.
So was that Meadow Falls or where was that at?
Yeah, so I started in Idaho Falls. So yeah, I went in and did an interview. It was Alan Broadhurst was the regional at the time, and I sat down, had an interview with him, and there was another guy that was from Pocatello, but I had no idea. My boss was my future boss was on vacation, so I ended up getting the job, and I came in, and some guy was telling me what to do, and I'm like, who the heck is this guy? Turned out he was my boss, but I had no idea what he was my boss. So it was one interview, and I got the job, and
There you go.
yeah, so
It's been bliss since then.
yeah, absolutely,
Nice.
yeah.
That's awesome. Cool, man. So your first job's there in the warehouse over in Idaho Falls. How long did you do that for?
I did that for 6.5 years.
Okay.
I was in the warehouse, and then I kind of got bumped to counter status because there was only 4 people in the parts department there at the time.
Okay.
So I did warehouse. I did taking some phone calls, all the shipping, receiving, all the hose building, all the parts delivery to the shop. So I did that for 6.5 years.
So good parts experience, good parts background.
Yeah, definitely on the warehousing side and looking up parts, which still helps me to this day. I can use SIS a little bit and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
There you go.
running the old DBS system.
Your old DBS. Yep.
Yep. Learned the shortcuts from all the guys all the macros and things like that that we used to do. So
Yeah, completely different world.
yeah, it's totally different now. Yeah.
Wearing out mouses instead of keyboards these days.
Exactly.
So that's pretty cool. So after the warehouse, what was your next role?
Well, so that was kind of funny. I was actually like looking to try to move up, but the other people in the parts department in Idaho Falls just didn't seem like they were going to be going anywhere. So I didn't know what to do. So one day I was out in the warehouse picking parts, and I'm kind of crazy. I was just like singing a song or something. And I turned around, there was Tom Harris staring at me. And I apologized that he had to hear my terrible singing, and he kind of chuckled, which I didn't know Tom that well, but maybe he had a sense of humor or whatever. But later that day, he came and found me. He asked me how long I'd been there, and I said 6.5 years. And he said, well, there's this inside product support job opening in Meridian. You might want to, if you're looking to go somewhere in the company, you might want to apply for that. So that's what I did. I applied for that and ended up becoming the inside product support guy in Meridian.
So how'd that conversation go with the wife of like, hey, I know we've got this temporary job as you graduate. I know that's where we started, but hey, I'm going to apply for this job in Meridian that's 4 hours away. How did that conversation go?
It actually went pretty good because at the time, I want to say I had my 3 daughters at that point, so 3 of my 4 kids, and I was working in the warehouse, and I was also delivering pizzas on the side because I was trying to pay off our student loans.
Yep.
And so I'd go to work. I'd probably work, I don't know, 50-ish hours a week because I was working on Saturdays too, and then delivering pizzas at night. And so at that point, we had paid off the student loans and we were trying to save up, and we just kind of thought, well, where are we going? And they wanted me around the house a little bit more. And so we thought this was a good opportunity. I mean, it was hard because we had friends and everything. And we were like, once you move, you're never coming back is the likelihood. But got the job, and I think I was way more terrified than my wife was.
Okay.
She's always had way more faith in me than I have. But so we decided to take it. Kind of worked out good because my parents had their house there in Weiser, which was close, and they were gone for a year and a half doing a church mission. So I was able to live in my mom's basement for a while I was over there to kind of make things work out. It was at a terrible time because the market had gone down, so I had to write a check to sell my house. But we were able to make that work with pizza money and moved over, and the rest is history.
No way.
Yeah.
So that was when we probably first started those inside PSSR jobs, right?
Yeah, so I was the first one of that group. I think there'd been inside PSSRs before,
Okay.
but Alex Frater had then come into product support, and I think it had started up again because there had been inside PSSRs before, and then they kind of all moved to outside, and then it kind of recycles. But at that time, I was the first one.
First one into that group.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. What was that inside PSSR job like?
So that one was more of like phone calls. I was set up as dealing with the retail customers, and so the goal was to go in and try to reach out to those that the guys didn't have time to go visit with their busy schedules. So we're kind of going into it blind, and Alex had a goal of 20 activities a day to be logged into SalesLink at the time. So it was just a matter of like getting on the phone, making phone calls, following up, researching what machines they had, trying to help them get in touch with the people in the shop or the parts department or things like that. So it was like telemarketing, but the strategy there was up to me to find out what machines did they have, what could we offer them, what might they need, type of thing. So
So in that situation, you're right. You were probably calling lots of people through there. What was one of your most memorable calls?
So I remember like my calls would be really quick, and I was just like, I don't know how to get this phone call to last more than 45 seconds. And so I talked to one of the gals in marketing, and I'm like, hey, I could use some help with like what could my approach be? And she's like, you know what? Ask the customer about his business. Just get him talking about his business. They love that. You're going to be on the phone forever. So I'm like, make a little script and make the phone call, and I call the guy, and I'm like, so hey, what is it that you do? And he gives me like a 2-word answer, and I'm like, how long have you been doing it? And he just snapped off at me. He's like, that's really none of your business. To be fair, that phone call lasted 30 seconds, so twice as long as some of the other ones. Yeah, I do remember that one very vividly.
That's funny. So you came in like all jacked, prepared. This is going to be a winner.
Yeah.
And then boom, rejected.
I was rejected. It was hardcore, and it hurt worse than the other ones. So
Because you put way more effort.
That's
into it,
right.
Right. Like this is going to work.
I had all these high hopes.
Oh, that's funny. So did you try that strategy a few more times and it actually worked?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I did. A lot of people did like to talk about in their business. Luckily I didn't give up after that one.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was able to help out a few different customers and get to know them a little bit. And I don't know. It was a fun time.
Well, that's pretty cool. Nice. Kind of cool 2 stories in your current 2 roles. Something that I'm picking up is just this, like looking for a need, filling a need.
Right.
Right. And then also persevering through challenge.
Yep.
Right. Because warehouse and the parts process, that was kind of some of the things that you did there. Right.
Right.
Challenge, keep working through it, and then working into, the inside PSSR job and jumping into that. Hey, this is uncomfortable. I'm not sure what this is. I'm going to go figure it out and do it. And then just fighting through that.
Right.
And that challenge. So that's a theme in those 2 jobs, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. So 3rd job, right? Because now we're on to 3. So after that, where'd you go? Or
Well, so I think I was about a year into that there, and my mom was getting all excited because her and my dad were going to be coming back, and they were going to get to see their grandkids. And then I got approached by Alex. They had another PSSR that had applied that wanted to come over, and they were thinking of expanding this inside role, and so he offered us the opportunity to go back to East Idaho.
Okay.
And so I talked to my wife, and she had made friends, and so
this conversation probably went a little bit different. Like, hey, you're moving to Boise.
moving to Boise was easier than moving back.
Oh, really?
It really was. Moving back was rough, I think, for her, for the kids. I remember my oldest daughter was just in love with her second grade teacher. Like when we left, she went in to say goodbye, and it was tears by the teacher and her, like it was, and I just felt like the worst dad in the world, but it was an opportunity to go back, and so we took it. But Inside Product Support brought me back to East Idaho. My mom never forgave me for leaving, but she does get to come see us a lot. So went back and I did that for a little bit. And then a heavy rents job opened up. And I applied for that with another guy at the time. I think it was kind of an interesting deal because we had the interview. There was, I don't know, like 5 or 6 people that interviewed here in Pocatello for it. That's where the job was based out of. And then me and another employee got invited to Meridian for a second interview. They're like, hey, this is the day you want to get on. Well, I was buddies with the other guy, so we just got a pool car and went down together.
The 2 guys interviewing for the job.
And when we showed up there, they could not believe that we had rode there together. And they're like, you realize that one of you is going to get the job and the other one's not. And we're like, yeah, that's kind of how it works. And they're like, and what's the drive home going to be like? And just like the drive here, but in the opposite direction. Like there was zero problem with it. But I ended up getting the job, and, he wasn't mad at me. We had a good time about it, and he ended up getting a different job later that fit more what he wanted to do anyway. But yeah, so then I jumped into heavy rents. I reported to Daryl Simmons. I don't know if you know that guy.
I might recognize that name, actually.
Yeah. So at the time they had it set up that even though I worked for heavy rents, and Steve Hewling was my boss, but I did report to Daryl Simmons. Every guy reported to the regional sales manager at that time. So, yeah.
So you were working with my old man.
Yep.
Let's just suffice that.
That's
real
right.
quick. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah, I'm at 2 generations now. Daryl, Tyler, and if one of your kids comes to the company, maybe I can work for them. So
that's too funny, Steve. That's kind of an interesting perspective, honestly.
yeah,
I didn't piece that together until you just did that for me. So thank you.
yeah, 3 generations of Simmons. Here we go.
I don't know if everybody's as excited about that as I am, right? But that's okay. So real quick though, so you started out at Western States in the parts counter.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any, or in the warehouse in the parts, did you have any understanding of Western States before you jumped in?
I had no idea.
Okay. Never been around heavy equipment, never been around the industry.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was a farmer, but he kind of got out of that when I was 8, but it's a whole different world, right?
Yeah.
So
you grew up on a farm?
yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah.
for a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of farm was it?
So over there that did a lot of onions, a lot of potatoes, did some corn for a while. That kind of ended up going away.
Okay.
But mostly onions was kind of the big thing that we did.
Oh, that's cool. So you've been around heavy equipment though, off and on your whole life.
Right.
Kind of a deal. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so you moved back to Eastern Idaho. The wife's mad at you. All the kids are mad.
Not mad.
Not mad. Okay, so let's clean that up.
Yeah,
so
she's mad. She was sad to leave her friends, right? They were sad to leave their friends. Now that they're older, if I even bring up the possibility of moving or something, it's like I'm not going to wake up. Got 2 high schoolers, they're locked in where they're at with everything they're doing.
Oh, that's awesome. That's too funny. So heavy rents job, jumped in the middle of that. So when you say heavy rents and heavy rent sales is what that role was, correct?
Right. Heavy rent sales.
Okay,
so
you're stacking knowledge too, which is kind of too cool as you go, right? So yeah, your parts counter knowledge, you kind of stacked into it. Now you've stacked into your product support sales job and started learning the sales process as well as the machine process. And now you jump in and now you're going to stack into the heavy rents process.
Right.
So talk to us a little bit about that heavy rent sales role and what that job was like.
Okay, so heavy rents is, so there's 2 different rental departments at Western States. And so you've got the Cat Rental Store, and they carry equipment from, skid steers up to a certain size. So wherever they would cut off, like at an excavator size, anything bigger than that would then turn over to heavy rents. I think at the time, the whole thought was that heavy rents was under the sales department. It was a way to take care of customers that would come up with these jobs that were a certain length of time where it didn't justify buying the equipment. And then as a way for Western States to have good used equipment being loaded into their sales fleet as they're going on. So I started dealing a lot with the mines in Pocatello. a lot of the reclamation jobs out there required articulated haul trucks and bigger excavators. Started dealing with the contractors for highway jobs and things. Anywhere that they needed bigger equipment, we had 349 excavators that had processing heads and hammers that they used to tear down old hospitals in Pocatello and things like that. So any kind of specialized bigger equipment, that's what I dealt with.
Oh, cool.
And I covered from Twin Falls to Jackson. I did Sun Valley, Pocatello, Idaho Falls area. That was all part of my area, and then eventually it expanded a little bit up into Dillon, Montana.
Okay.
So
now you're starting to learn machines. You're starting to learn application that machines are used in, and starting to learn that. So was that a learning journey for you too, and kind of an understanding of like how, when a customer says, I need this machine for this, of like understanding what they're using it for and those things?
yeah, no, it was. I mean, it was kind of interesting how I started in parts. It was like, okay, here's the parts. This is what they look like. I don't know what it's going to. And then going into the inside product support job, the majority of what I dealt with was skid steers, mini X's, people that had one or two machines, but nothing really big, maybe a dozer here and there. Then to jump into this world of just big equipment, heavy construction, and started to learn about that and the process. Started to learn about efficiency on jobs and doing different hauling systems, which is taking different types of equipment and putting them together and making an equipment team that would help do a job. What's the best way to do it fast, efficient, help them make the most money per yard of dirt moved and things like that. So it was definitely growing. And I kind of skipped kind of that whole like medium-sized equipment and went straight to the big stuff, you know? So small, jump to the big stuff, and then just kind of learned that from there.
That's cool. So think of one of your cool projects you got to be involved there a little bit. Tell us about it. Tell us about the gear that was there and what intrigued you about it.
Man, there was a lot of really cool jobs that went on out there. I think one of the bigger jobs that happened was that we had a customer come in and they were building these retaining ponds for the waste that comes off of a mine plant. So when they process the ore and everything, there's waste that comes off of there. And so they were building these giant retaining ponds. And so when they came in, they were heavy into the Komatsu equipment, but we were able to start getting some pieces in there, and eventually with our service was able to win the majority of that project over. Our service was so good at that time that we were actually going out to do maintenance on our equipment, and they would ask our guys to fix the competitors' equipment that was down. But there was a lot of things that came into that job where they needed to find ways to break up rock, because there was really hard lava rock there, and they couldn't blast because it was right next to another retaining pond, and so they didn't want to structurally damage that and cause a problem. And so it turned out to finding different ways with dozers and hammers and things to be able to get there, because when they got down to the rock, it turned out that it was there and they weren't planning on it. And so we kind of helped them through that process. The job went a little longer, but they were able to get it done. So that was one of the cool projects that we had.
That's cool, and good couple stories about that. And our technician teams across Western states are a differentiator, right? No matter which way you look at that, I mean, those guys, the field techs, the shop guys, the parts cutter time, the product support team that we have around here is the difference maker for our business in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And describing that, or where, you know, they're working on non-cat machines, helping the customer be successful, and then the impact long-term that has, that's a pretty cool story, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always talked about that, you know, being in parts, you know, parts is usually kind of an entry level, as well as like a yard attendant or something, where you either move up into that or you move into becoming a technician. And I've always felt like parts and technicians haven't gotten the credit that I think they deserve. I don't think that anybody does, but especially them. And just because the relationships that they are able to build with the customers that are out there on the ground, and the respect that they have from them, I'll tell you what, when I was in heavy rents, like I went around and did my best, you know, to sell the rentals and to take care of the customers. But I was more at a high level, like at an office level, dealing with management and things like that. A lot of the wins that we got came from my technicians that were on the ground out there. They had those relationships, and they could go to our guys and have a problem. they'd fix it, or they'd call me and we'd get it fixed. And working as a team like that really made a huge difference.
That's awesome. That's a cool story. So Heavy Rents, you did that job for a little while. How many years were you in that role?
I want to say about 6, probably.
Years.
Yeah.
That's a good amount of time, man. So
Yeah.
you spent a good amount of time in each role. You're spending the time and energy dedicated to that, learning that trade, learning the focus of that,
Right.
and stacking those businesses pieced together. You got quite a bit of experience, and we haven't even made it to your most recent role that I'm very much aware of.
Right. Right.
Yeah, we haven't even made it there yet, but it's pretty cool to see how you've persevered through a lot of challenge.
Mhm.
You've stacked in a lot of business knowledge and applied it. So now Heavy Rents job. So what was next after that?
So when I was in Heavy Rents, I did end up dealing a lot with the SciTech department, with the technology, because the majority of the work that we did required that there be GPS on the job site. And so I became really proficient at calling SciTech and saying, they need GPS, can you help me out? Like,
You at least knew the phone.
that's right. I knew the phone number, right? So anytime it came up, I just call them up, coordinate with Mitch, the salesman, because he was the one that covered my area, and said, hey, your customer's looking for this, this, and this. This is the machine. This is where we're, and he would ask me to take a few pictures. I'd send it to him, and that's, that's how it went. So knew a little bit about SciTech, and then the job came up. I was, 6 years into Heavy Rents and thought, this is the way everything's going to be going. I could learn something else, make myself a little bit more valuable if somehow I could get the job, and went in there, did the interview. You and Andrew Sweet talked me into this. And so here I am, right? So another, I would say 2.5 years.
Yep.
I was going to say about 2.5 years into this job this is where I'm at.
Yeah,
So,
coming into a stride of that one too, for sure.
yeah.
You're really getting after it. Because it's a learning curve. Like, not to deny it at all, right? I mean, it's a learning curve to jump into the technology.
Hardest thing I've done at this company.
Really.
Yep.
What's been the hardest part about that?
It's just a whole different world. And it's with Heavy Rents, I was able to get a list of the equipment, get the specs, learn about it, and understand it. Right? They would come out with newer models of things. They would come out with different changes here and there, but you knew what it did. You knew what it was designed to do. With technology, it's like, I don't know anything. This is what I need to learn. And as I'm slowly climbing up that knowledge mountain, things have changed. Now the mountain's gotten bigger. Right?
One shifted, or
That's right.
or all of a sudden there's a shift in the tectonic plate, and there's a new valley, right? It's like
Exactly.
it's not a streamlined growth model.
Everything has changed so much, right?
Yeah.
And so it's trying to adjust to all those changes while still learning what I don't know, and being able to take care of the customers the best I can, and utilizing the team. It just takes more of my brain power to try to keep up with that.
Yeah, I think I would agree with technology, right? It's always changing, and I've been in the game for a little bit longer than you, maybe 3 or 4 more years than you. But the cool thing about technology is that you always have the ability to learn. Like, you're never going to not be learning in the
Right.
technology space. But the rewarding factor of how it can impact the customer
Right.
is insane.
Yep.
And what it can do to their job, right? Do you share that same kind of perspective?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's an uncomfortable spot for a lot of these customers that are just trying to get into it, but it's also uncomfortable for those that are into it, because it provides them with so much of what they need to be more efficient, and it works so well that some of these guys have stuff that's 12 years old and they're still using it, and they're having a hard time moving on to the newer stuff that could help them even be more efficient. And guys that have never done it, they look at it and they see the price, right? There's a price to everything. But when you have a price for a machine and you pay the price for a machine, a semi-truck comes in and drops off this big toy that you get to play with.
Yep.
And when you buy technology, I roll up with a briefcase. It looks like we're doing some sort of illegal exchange in a parking lot or something. I hand them the briefcase,
Well,
and it's a large amount of money for something that's pretty small.
Yep.
But the first guy that I sold something to, he'd been on the fence for a while. He'd worked with previous salesmen, and he finally had the job that was right. And we went back and forth. I don't know how many times. He kept changing his mind on how he wanted to do it. And finally he's like, I'm just going to jump all in. and we got it set up. I think I was brand new to the job. Our technician was brand new to the job, and he was nervous that he had to get permission, from his boss, who's his wife, to get the funds to buy it, and he had this pond that he had to do at a parking lot, and he called me 3 days later and he said, I should have got this gear so long ago. I had planned 3 weeks to finish this pond, and I'm done already.
Oh, gee.
3 days. And he's like, I've already made the money back on this. Like, and now his company's growing, and but it's a hard thing to take that first leap. And so I gotta, me and the team got to figure out how to help them make that leap and help them be successful.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about the impact to the customer, right? And
Right.
the reward of that guy calling you, hey, I'm 3 days, I'm weeks ahead of my schedule,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you think about the safety impact that has because they're less
Right.
on the job. I mean, that's huge on the safety impact for that customer,
Yeah.
and also their cost savings and everything else downstream from there. And so, to me, in the technology space, like I said, it's not easy to learn it and understand it.
Right.
But what you just described is that's what keeps me going
Yeah.
in that space, and just trying to get everybody that we possibly can exposed to it to help them be successful, to help them win, to help them build our communities for a better tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's pretty an amazing spot to be in,
Yeah.
from my perspective. Yeah, that's cool. So you've obviously been in the world here for a little while now for customers with technology. What advice do you have to any customer that's thinking about getting into grade control or GPS or any type of technology? What suggestions do you have for 'em?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you can get into it. We have a lot of different programs. There's things like that to help them kind of dip their toes. But honestly, just when the opportunity comes up to use it, use it. There's so many people. A lot of my customers have other friends in the industry that are doing it, and they go and they talk to their friends and they try out their friends' equipment. And that's a big difference there, right?
Mhm.
So if you can find a way to get your hands on it, do you come talk to us and we can come show you how it works or see how it applies to your job? That would be one of my big suggestions, is try to figure out a way to get your hands on it and to see it. Because once you do and you see how it makes sense for you, you're gonna want to be able to run with it. So yeah, I just jump in, just try to find a way to try it out, and
Yep.
yeah, that
Don't
would
be afraid of it.
don't be without yeah, exactly. Don't be afraid of it. It's coming, right? So as soon as you jump on the train, the sooner you're gonna get moving, right?
There you go.
And so partner up with us, and we'll be along with you for the journey. That's the thing. Like, we don't just sell the gear. The plan for us is to help you be successful after the sale. The sale's not the end, it's the beginning. And we've got great support guys that want to help customers be successful, because when they're successful, that's what helps us be successful. And that's really what we want to see there, is them being able to get more work done in a safer, more efficient way, be able to get more projects if that's what they want to do, that helps them move on to the next project, or maybe give them more time with their family, right? Help them to retain their operators, because it's hard to hold on to good operators right now. And if you have the best equipment that helps them be able to go to work, get a job done quick, efficiently, they get to go home less tired, they get to go home happier because they're running into less problems. That's a win. That makes them want to come back to work for our customers too. And so just try to help make their life easier if we can.
That's pretty cool. And again, Stephen, like the background you have and the layering of the different jobs and the layering of the different experiences to be to where you're at today, that's pretty cool, man. And I think that's really set you up to serve our customers in our industry in a really unique fashion
Yeah.
for success. So good on you, man, to stick it out and to dive in and work through those challenges every day, because it's not easy.
Right.
Has it ever been like perfectly easy every day for you?
No, not in this role for sure.
We're out in this world.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I see that you're also wearing a MindStar hat today.
I am. Yeah.
Is that a newer thing for you, hanging out in the MindStar world?
Yeah, so that's something that I started, I don't know, a few months ago, helping with that. So obviously there's been some changes here that we're doing everything technology, and not just Trimble technology. So now I'm getting in. So it's funny, right? I started with parts, then I got into really small equipment, then I got into big equipment. Getting back into technology, doing the SciTech stuff, has got me back into the medium-sized equipment. And now I'm back up at the really big equipment, but it's even bigger than what I was able to rent. So I'm about ready to touch it all, I think, at this point. But yeah, so working with MindStar and the technology that goes out there as far as production, tracking, and safety systems that are involved, helping keeping the mind knowing what's going on, whether it be a safety or a production side, and helping with that. I'm brand new to it, so I'm learning. But yeah, we're just trying to help customers be efficient, know what's going on, and be able to account for what they've done and where they're going, so they can plan for that too.
That's pretty cool. Again, just layering another layer of that knowledge on, right?
Yeah,
And just stacking it to it,
right.
and persevering and working through some challenges and just getting it done every day.
Yep.
That's the cool part, man.
Yeah.
That's the cool part. So what keeps you going every day? Because it's as if you think challenges and the things you had to overcome,
Well,
what keeps you going, man?
so the biggest thing, like number one, obviously, is my family, which is the most important thing to me. So trying to figure out how to take care of my family, try to be able to spend time with my kids and let them do the things that they want to do and teach them how to work hard for whatever goals they have. That's a big one for me, right? I want to keep them happy. And then the other thing that keeps me going every day is honestly, my teammates, they help me out so much. Like I get to go out and see the customers and be face to face with them, but a lot of the success, the majority of the success, I would say, comes from the team that's around me helping take care of these things. If a customer needs something or wants something, they come to me because it's easy to call one person. And then I start doing the digging. I can pass that off, whether it be to service or whether it be to, the parts or whoever, and we can make sure that we get them taken care of. And I've got such a good team around me, and I have every step of the way here at Western States that it makes it easy to go to work for somebody that has your back. So I would say family first, and then my teammates are the things that keep me going every day.
That's pretty cool, man.
And then obviously the customers, like being in a role like this, go making phone calls, you don't get that close to the customer like product support. I'm just another telemarketer. There was a few that I got close to. And then I get into heavy rents and I got to be a part of people's businesses. But that was probably, a handful compared to technology. Now I'm working with everybody. And so being involved in other people's businesses too with those customers and having them have the trust in me to help them make whatever decisions right for them and be successful, that also too pushes me every day. It keeps me up at night sometimes too. Like how do we take care of so-and-so? How do we make sure that they're being successful? How do we make sure that they're happy so that they can have the same kind of things outside of work that I want for me and my family?
Yeah, no, that's cool. So what's pretty cool about your story too is you've been able to focus on your family while also focus on building your career at Western States. And I know there's different, when you take on a new role, or that kind of goes back and forth, but let's talk about that for a minute. Do you feel like you've been able with Western States to be able to balance both? Because I think that's, to me, I have personally, but I'm curious to your perspective.
So I think that probably depends on every different individual person. It's been a lot harder for me in this role, just the way I am, to kind of separate that. And I'm getting a little better at it now. But it definitely has, like all my roles at Western States has allowed me the ability to go and do those things with my kids that are important to them. Talking about my dad being on a farm or whatever, he worked really hard. He worked 6 days a week. He never worked Sundays, but he worked 6 days a week. The only time he wasn't working was when he was going to one of my brothers or sisters or my sporting events or things like that. He always made time for that. And for the most part, I've been able to do that for my kids and their events and things too, with the jobs I've had here. So that balance has been good. Like I've been able to do a lot of things that I wouldn't have been able to do at different places or in different roles. So
pretty cool.
That's important.
Yeah, because raising our kids and raising our families, right? That's a big part of why we're here.
Oh yeah,
right?
For sure.
We got to, and to have fulfillment in our careers and the challenge. And you're in that first couple of years of the technology space, right?
Right.
So it's learning a whole new job every time you switch, right? So every time you switch roles or something like that, we all go through this phase of like, hang on, wait, what am I supposed to do with my hands?
Yeah.
Where am I supposed to be right now? What am I supposed to learn? And then jumping into it and getting after it, right? It starts to smooth out at some point.
Yeah.
Unless things keep changing. With technology, they always do. So that'll be the interesting part over time of what that's going to look like and how that's going to go, man. So cool. So what, when you think of the technology space, you shared a story there that was really cool to hear. But think about all the different things you've done
Okay.
What's one of your favorite customer stories that you can think of that just gives you a little bit of happiness and that you're proud of?
So I think one of the coolest ones was there was a customer up in Montana that was looking to get into something. He got a bid to build a road, and he called the surveyor like how to set this up, and the amount of money it was going to cost. He was like, I think I could buy a base and rover myself, right? And so he reached out to me, and we got on the phone and we talked, and he's like, this is what I want to do, and so I was pretty early into it, so I worked with my team, and I came up with a plan of like, okay, this is what we think you need, So we set up the base and the rover, and we got the roading module for him. And I said, I think you're going to need some training. I know you have some guys that use this, but I think we need to put some training in there. Let's have our guy Lee come over and help you out. And so we put this all together. He's going in the first time he's ever used it as the owner of the company. And he's got a guy that's kind of messed around with different brands and different things as far as GPS goes, but they had this job. And so I end up going to deliver it to him. We're going to go do the training. We call him up, like, hey, we're going to come up and do this training. And he's like, my work truck got stolen. So he was dealing with that.
Oh,
He's
no.
like, I'm not going to be there, but my guys are going to be there, And so we drove up to Polson, Montana, and went up there, and we spent the day with him, right? We showed him how to set up the base. Lee went down there and he said, what are you guys wanting to do with this road? And it was this old dirt road in Polson. So they have a lot of dirt roads up there that they're trying to convert over to, to pavement and whatever. And so went up there and he's like, this is the road, and they kind of gave us a model, but there's sidewalks on the side and they've sunken and everything's a little bit, if we do it like they want us to do it, then everything's going to be off. It's not going to match with the sidewalk. And Lee's like, let me show you something cool. He went in there. He's like, what do you think? What would you do? And he's like, I'd probably start with this side. So we measured down one side of the road. We offset for the crown, and then we dropped it off to the other side to match the curb that we took shots in. And we turned it over to him after one day, and the customer called Lee a few times. In the end, they got the job done. And then, I don't know, it's kind of weird, interesting how it happened, because I would say about a year later, I was headed to Polson, and I said, I'm going to drive on that road on the way out, because it was really close. So I went down the hill, turned on that road, and it was the nicest road I could be biased, but it was amazing. Like, it came out perfect. Everything fit right and matched the curve on each side. Everything was awesome. And they did that basically brand new with one day of training, and they were able to go out there and make it work. And I've talked to that customer multiple times since then. And he's come up with different jobs, and he sent me pictures and things, and they're just having a good time and being successful and being able to do jobs that they could never do before. So,
Dude, that's pretty cool. Enabling a customer to do that,
Yeah.
getting them taught up. That's just the power of the technology,
right.
right? It's really scary when you jump in, but the results there
Yeah.
are big. So cool, man. You've shared a lot of really good stories with us today, a lot of your history. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But what advice do you have for anybody that's wanting to come to work at Western States or get in the industry?
Boy, I don't know if I'm the guy to go to for advice, but I would just say, I think the reasons that I've been able to be successful is I was just who I am. Everybody's a little different, and you might come in and say, that guy's a good salesman, I should be like him, or that guy is a good manager, I should be like him, or she's really good with customers, I need to be like her. In the end, just figure out who you are and you learn how to maximize that. And I think that if you're true to yourself, I think Western States does a pretty good job of letting you be who you are and letting you figure it out. And if you do that and you know your strengths, then you become more relatable to the customer because you really are showing who you are. And Western States hired you for a reason. They hired you because you are whoever you are, and just help make yourself better every day. Worry about making yourself better, and then you'll be able to grow in the company, and that'll help the company be better too.
There you go.
So
That's pretty awesome, man. Well, cool. Well, Stephen, thank you for taking the time with me today.
Mhm.
Share some pretty awesome stories. Pretty phenomenal career history here.
Mhm.
Lots of different challenges, but getting after it every day and learning the technology and like the road story, helping our customers build better roads every day, bud.
Right.
So I appreciate what you do. You and I work together frequently, and I appreciate having you and having you around. You bring lots of smiles to my face.
Good.
And your dedication means a lot to me, so thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This was fun.